overwhelming, and the considerations are infinite. But I'm hoping, I feel like we're feeling maybe some breaths of air in the midst of it. And for me, it's you all, and the fact that we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here, and that we can share resources, and knowing that the Spirit will show up in our imperfections, and in our weakness will be made strong. So yeah, I'm going to put these questions here in the old chat box. And the prompt was, what does re-emergence look like in worship for you? Yeah, I think that's probably where we need to start. But is it helpful to go through kind of each of these questions, or do people just want to go around the room and share? Maybe it's easier to just kind of share from your perspective. We each take 5 minutes or so, whatever, and that's probably easier, just to go through where you're at, summarize kind of what you're thinking about, and going from there. Welcome, Desiree. Great to see you. I'm glad you could be here. And you may not have seen these because I just put them in here, but I'm going to put these back into the chat again. We'll just go around the room. Does anyone want to kick things off and in the spirit of Psalm 147?
I just left here to go get a printout because yesterday the task force decided to present for voting our reopening, revised guideline for reopening the church. And we're going to reopen on the 18th. So I'm going to...
18th of July?
Yeah, next Sunday, not this Sunday, the next one. So I'm going to read the whole thing quickly because it's by points, and then you can tell me whatever. It's the first service will be July 18th. If you are sick, do not attend, even if you think it's just a head cold or sniffle. COVID is presenting like this now. Another one, those who are unvaccinated must remain masked while in the building and will sit in a designated area to keep social distancing. Children under 12 who are not vaccinated will be masked at all times in the building. A box of masks and hand sanitizer will be provided at the entrance for those who need it. The first pews in the front of the church will be reserved for the worship team to help provide safe distancing. There will be no passing of the pews at this time. We will remain in our pews and wave to give hugs to one another from a respectful distance. Singing and playing of all instruments is allowed. The service will be recorded and live streamed to YouTube via Carla's cell phone as before. The bulletin emailed as we have been for those who wish to participate remotely. The videos will be available after the service for viewing also. The bulletin will continue to be emailed on Sunday as it has been, and the standard bulletin will be prepared by Carla for in-person attendees. Bibles, hymnals, and pew cushions will be kept out of the sanctuary for the present. The bathrooms on the first floor in the Westerville Hall will be available for use and then sanitized after service. There will be hand sanitizer available in the pews for use before and after the service. Communion will be served in sealed prepared single-serve cups and made available for each to pick up at the entry. Members will be disposed of their own cups on the way out. It will not be served by ushers at this time. There will be no fellowship hour following the service. Those who want to stay and socialize, I encourage to do so outdoors. The task force will continue to monitor the situation and meet to review the guidelines if the situation changes or questions arise. That's it.
That's super helpful. Yeah, thank you, Carla. And this was a task force that helped come up with that?
Yes.
From your session, or yeah.
Yeah, we've been very conservative, very, very careful, because we have like
Yeah.
90%, 90 something percent of elderly
Yeah.
and disabled.
Right. That's so important. And can you just remind, I didn't quite hear the communion piece. How are you all doing the communion?
It's going to be, those are single cups that have a wafer on
Mhm.
a
Okay.
layer on top. You
Yeah.
open that,
Got it.
take
The
the wafer.
pre-purchase.
Yeah.
Okay. And will they
Carla,
be, yeah, go ahead, Tom.
what you said after saying the Bible's hymnals and pew cushions wouldn't be in the pews, you said something will be sanitized regularly, and I missed what that was.
At the bathroom.
Oh, okay, bathroom. Okay.
The bathrooms downstairs, nobody will use upstairs. The bathroom downstairs will be clean and sanitized.
Who will do that?
Normally, guess what?
Not you.
Oh,
Now, some of them we can ask some deacons to do it. We don't have a cleaner.
Yeah.
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 A lady from the next door church offered to clean in exchange, because she likes this church, in exchange for some food. She's like, I hate cooking. You throw me a plate of food and I'll clean for you. And I just don't think it's fair to cleaning is a pain. So I told her, no, we're gonna find out if whenever we can give you something that's worth it, we can, ask you to clean. But John has been cleaning upstairs and cleaning the bathrooms. Maybe he can. But John is over 70, so
Yeah.
I don't like that idea. But he's
Right.
doing it so far.
Wow.
He's the one doing. But if needed, I help them. But I tell them, when I leave, don't expect another pastor to do this.
Well, it looks like, and you're recording the services. Sounds like, yeah, all these. So,
Yeah.
so to clarify, I mean, what I think I'm hearing too from where we're at, right? It's the need for cleaning is only necessary when there's, a bathroom situation, there's someone else coming in
Yes.
directly after, right? After 2 hours, services are fine. Is that,
Yes.
are we there, right? So that's helpful to lift up. So it seems like the bathroom usage is probably the highest challenge for us.
That's the only thing that we were going to clean is the bathroom. The rest, there's no need, because we're going to meet the following. Yeah. So.
Okay. That's super, super helpful. And you're purchasing those, those communion boxes. Others, are others using the purchased pre-filled cups? John, you've been doing that, you guys?
Yeah, they taste terrible, but it's, it is what it is for the present time.
Yeah.
I was considering having, the cubed bread that we used to have always. And having the deacons or whomever comes in to prepare it gloved and masked if necessary, pour the juice into those little trays, but not pass the trays, have people come up and pick up 1 cup, and I don't know, maybe we have tongs or something for the bread.
My former congregation is doing something like that.
Yeah. It seems like that could work too. I don't know.
well,
People suggested it in my church.
Yeah.
I have to preach in 12 to 15 minutes because they want the service to take no longer than 1 hour.
1 hour. Yeah.
So if everybody go up there walking with difficulty, pick up this and pick up that.
That's true. That's true. If
longer.
people have difficulty walking, I'm
That's
like,
right.
okay, how do you serve the people who need to be served in their pews? You have to think about that too.
Yeah.
Rob, I remember back in the early times of this whatever, we were at Covenant, we were doing
Of the whatever times.
Good.
Well, and then it's all blending together. So I'm like, was that COVID? I can't even keep it straight anymore. But the deacon or whoever was serving communion was pulling off the piece, giving it to the folks, and then they were dipping in, so there was less contact. And that's what I went through. I was supposed to celebrate communion this past Sunday, and I was like, I don't have any. I mean, it was for 3 people, 2 people partook. So one of whom was my husband, so not a big risk or thing, but and I was leveraging that memory of, okay, I'm just going to pull it off and hand it to them, and then they can dip carefully. But granted, if you have more people, that gets more complicated. But does something like that make sense? And I know I mentioned this to you, Rob. I mean, since buffets are open now again, I have no idea what the rules are, why that is, or what the requirements are. But it sort of seems if people can handle tongs and cough on lettuce, then we could probably should be able to do communion. But I don't know, and I do not want to do bad visuals or compromise people's health. But that's I'm like, salad bars.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of what we're doing is probably overly cautious with regard to this kind of stuff, and primarily because we're being recorded. There's like an added pressure of somebody watching from home, be like, oh, that's not safe, you know. And so yeah, it's all like, not only are we dealing with the actual threats of a virus, but we're dealing with people's perception of those threats. And people have, as you have probably all experienced, varying degrees of how they perceive the threat of the virus. And so it's
and what's comfortable for one person may be very uncomfortable for another person. It's
some
really
ways
hard to know.
Yeah, it's a losing battle in some ways.
Desiree, have you guys done communion yet? Are you guys getting ready to do it? Have you considered where you're at?
We're still remote, and we're having some renovations done in the building, and it won't be done until the end of August.
Nice.
So we're not planning to go back until after Labor Day.
Yeah, same here.
So we do have some time, but we are thinking about it. And, you know, I think the issue is you just don't know what's going to be happening in September. You don't know. And I mean, right now things are pretty good, but there's stuff happening. There's still stuff happening. So the first thought I had was to just have everybody just bring their own stuff. Because they're in the habit of doing that now. We've been doing it for, gosh, this Sunday will be week 70.
Yeah.
Wow.
So people are used to bringing their own bread and their own juice. But actually, we're trying to put together, I don't know what you call it, a guide or whatever. And so we're taking apart worship. And so me and another lady are going to get together and talk about communion, especially how we want to do it. Let's just say it's like really, really super safe in September. Then we probably would consider doing it the way we've always done it. If it's not, then we need to have a plan B, right? So we need to have probably an A, B, and C plan for doing everything. Collecting the offering, definitely we're taking the sanctuary and making it a hybrid sanctuary. And so we're going to get some big screens. And so the people that Zoom in from home who are not comfortable coming back will still be able to do that. But the crazy thing is, here's the crazy thing is, we, in the middle of this pandemic, we did a capital campaign. And in 6 weeks, we raised all the money to do this stuff. So
what?
So we're blessed.
Yeah.
We're blessed because we were trying to figure out how to, because we have a very, 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 very old building. And how do you get it up to speed to be able to do this hybrid thing? So I know I've gone off track, sorry.
No, super helpful, right? We're just kind of throwing it all out there. And just to drill down a little bit, the screens you guys are getting, are they like big TV screens or are they projection?
Right, I don't know.
That's fine.
Because we have a technology team.
Yes.
Thank the Lord. Because I'm not that girl, but I think when we get closer I'd be happy to have another meeting and invite some of those people, because they're really studying this whole thing. They're looking at what other churches are doing, how successful or not successful some things are, recognizing that we probably will make mistakes. We probably will buy stuff we don't really need, and then learn from that. I don't see any way around it because we've never done this before.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to try it to know what works and what doesn't work.
The hardest part is getting people to recognize that they're not perfect and that, you know, we're not going to get this right for some time. So, yeah.
Okay, no, that's super helpful. Trina?
I think the biggest challenge that I'm having is I feel like all of my people are burned out, tapped out, stressed out, tired out. And like, I don't know how to get them re-energized, and like, I don't feel like I've got a team in place that can help me plan for and make these decisions, even though the session is saying, okay, we can probably go back to sanctuary worship in September, but you know, we have this 2-month time period to kind of figure out what that looks like now. And I don't have a team of people that is doing that. And we let our music director go because we want to get a new music director, but we don't have people that are helping me get the new music director. And you know, like, I feel like I'm just trying to manage too many pieces, and I'm doing a terrible job at any of them because I don't know who to ask to help me at this point. Because everybody's like, I'm tired and I'm stressed. And I was like, yeah, me too. Yeah, same. So I don't know. I just had another elder resign from session because her job got really overwhelming. And, you know, I feel like all my process people are dropping out, and like, I need those people because that's not how I work. Like, so I'm a little worried about what's happening because I just feel like everybody's sort of throwing in the towel, and like, I can't do it anymore.
That's real. That's so real. And right. I mean, the fact that other people are going through this exact process in all of their places of work.
Yeah. Their workplaces are all going through these same questions. Yeah.
Exactly. That burnout is real.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things we're doing this month is we're taking a Sabbath from all meetings, business meetings. I mean, there are a couple of teams that still have to meet, like the trustees, because they're doing the building project.
Yeah.
But people have really appreciated this time where we don't have to be at meetings this month, right? So it is kind of acknowledging that we've been at this for 15 months. And, you know, we just kind of need to pause for a minute. And the other thing I would recommend is to really prayerfully consider maybe 5 or 6 people, Trina, that you can invite out or invite to your home for a meal, and share your concerns with them and tell them that you need a team, you need help.
Yeah.
You can't do this by yourself, but you know, you have to be vulnerable. You know, you got to tell them, you know, this is make or break.
Right.
And I think when you can sort of rally some people, get them energized about the future. I've been preaching a lot about the future, you know, sort of having a focal point, giving people something to get excited about. Right?
Yeah.
This is not just stress. This is also very exciting. But you know, you have to believe it.
Well, yeah. I mean, the third piece of it is we also proved this big idea thing, which is great, new exciting idea for the church, but that's like a whole other thing to figure out while we're trying to figure out how to get back to worship and what I think the question is too, like, what is essential and what is what is something that can wait, you know?
And Trina, just to push, did you guys, have you guys floated a date for sort of something in person? Are you looking at September, or is it?
Yeah, I think September is it 12th?
Yeah, post Labor Day. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And we're doing 2 in-person outdoor services, one in July and one in August. We did one in June for our confirmation class, which was great. So we thought we'd do one summer service a month outside.
Okay. Nice.
Yep.
Drew, can we ask you, like, where's Quincy at? What are you guys just generally thinking?
Yes. So we, I'm looking at your questions here. So we opened the sanctuary for worship on June 6th.
Wow.
So session decided in May that with recommendation from our task force that it was safe to open. And just the way my brain works, Rob, I'm just going to go straight through your questions.
Great.
And
Helpful.
so
helpful.
we are doing communion. We've done it a few ways. June 6th. So we do communion on the first Sunday of the month. So we've only done it twice, but June 6th, everyone in the narthex grabbed one of those prepackaged little guys. They did taste awful. I don't think, so the wafer was expected. We expected that to taste awful.
Shock.
But I don't think we refrigerated the juice for long enough before serving it, or it sat in the narthex for too long on a warm day and it tasted expired. I'll put it that way. Like to the point where I saw so many faces in the sanctuary under masks that I said, we'll think of a new way to do this next month. I literally said that in the midst of serving communion. Maybe not the most professional way to do that, but
it didn't taste like that.
So this last month we decided to move towards how we used to always do it, which was ushers going around, elders and deacons serving individual people. What we did is we had the cup trays with cubes of bread, like Trina was talking about, in individual cups along with juice, so that it wasn't a pile of bread that you were kind of like, which one do I want?
Wait, a cube of bread in like a Dixie cup?
In a communion cup.
In a communion cup,
That's
like a glass one
pretty.
or a recycle, like.
So this week we did the plastic ones. We're going to move to glass next month.
Okay.
And Drew, you had the juice and the bread in the same cup, or you had a cup for bread, a cup for juice?
Cup for bread, cup for juice.
Okay.
And people just grabbed one of each.
And then if you like it balanced,
what we discovered is, what's that?
I didn't know if you had it balanced delicately on top with the juice below or something magical.
Right. Which almost sounds like a fun cocktail kind of a thing, right?
Crouton floating in the juice.
And dunk it in and take it, at the same time. So next month, our worship committee just met last night. What we're going to do is we packed in those plates a little too much. So it's kind of like hard to kind of grab, so we're going to kind of spread those out. But that's how we're doing it now. We also had a lot of, and I'm sure you all have heard this criticism also. We had a lot of older hands that had trouble with the opening one and then opening the next one. So those kind of built into how we're doing it now. But I don't know if I'm skipping here. I'm looking back at the, so let me move to masks. So we've decided to require everyone in the sanctuary to wear masks. So that is kind of several tiers to that. One, just like you said, Rob, it's solidarity with our kids and with anyone who can't get the vaccine for medical purposes. So basically, like what I've been kind of preaching is we want our sanctuary to be a place that's welcoming to kids and young families. And if we can make it feel as safe as possible where everyone is wearing masks, that helps young families feel confident to come and things like that. The other reason is that we have brought back congregational singing, and I feel personally just way more comfortable if people are singing with masks on. And then same with serving communion the way we are, that all servers are wearing masks. Everyone else is wearing a mask. So I'm not, like you all talked about, I'm not as worried about contact, touch being the thing that spreads the virus, but much more so airborne. So if everyone's wearing a mask, windows are open, fans are on, I feel pretty good about it. So that's kind of been our kind of two-step approach to keeping masks on. I've only gotten a little bit of pushback on that, but that's also from the one person that we know is anti-vaccinations and anti-masks and anti all those other things. And so I told her that's what session decided, and she said, okay, I won't be attending for now, which was honestly kind of a relief because we were going to have to confront her. Let's see. One thing we're also doing is each month session meeting, we're looking at these precautions and saying, should we change anything? Should we keep things the same? So masks, distancing. For distancing, we are still blocking every other pew. And then we basically, from there, just ask people to stay responsible with their own distancing. So we don't have too many other measures, specifically like you need to stay 6 feet away. It's just like, let's be responsible about it. Because we have several friends in the church who have been meeting together in their homes this whole time. And they're kind of like in pods, so we feel like that's a responsible way that they can sit together, but we don't want to really regulate that. Okay, let's see. Sharing prayer requests, passing the mic. So we actually don't do that during worship. So that's not an issue for us. Singing in the church, yes. So how we started to get comfortable was the first month, we only sang together the final hymn and the benediction response. So that the idea is we all sang together, but within 10 minutes, we'll be out of the building. So if you feel uncomfortable with that. But we just started this last week doing the first hymn as well. And then probably by August, we'll include a third hymn. So we are singing together. Let's see. So that's how we're singing. Otherwise, we're doing like soloists. We haven't even thought about the choir or anything like that yet. Hymnals and pews, we've kept them out for now, and we have projectors that project the lyrics to hymns. So we've been sticking with that.
You've kept them out of the sanctuary, not.
That's right. Yeah, we took the hymnals out
at
the very beginning, so we've kept them out. But I don't think anyone's too concerned about that. So we might introduce them again sometime soon.
And Drew, just to drill into that piece, it does seem like, right, if people are in their pew and they're the family unit or themselves touching it, they put it back 2 hours later, it's fine, right? That's kind of the assumption with hymnals.
That's it. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
Great.
Service going shorter, kind of intentionally, kind of not intentionally. We haven't reintroduced every aspect of worship that we have. So our services have been between 50 minutes and an hour, where they probably went an hour 15 BC before COVID.
Hadn't heard that
yet. Oh, thank you. I don't know if I came up with that, but I'll take credit for it.
Yeah, write it
down. But we are kind of putting things back in that might lengthen the service a bit. But again, we have windows that can open pretty wide and fans in the sanctuary. So we feel, until the weather gets too cold, we feel pretty good about our ventilation. But I feel terrible about ventilation without the windows open, because that's our only form of ventilation. So I'll let you all know how the winter goes, what that's going to look like. Hopefully we've got this thing kicked and it's looking good in the winter, but I'm not feeling super great about that, at least for other parts of the country. So yeah, Rob.
Drew, also the fans, and where do you point them, the location? Are they pointing toward the windows? Are they, how's that working?
They're just ceiling fans.
Okay.
So they're just aiming down, but it makes me feel better that there's air movement. We did play around with having some window fans, but we haven't actually done that, and no one's brought that up. So I think we're going to stick with what we have. We do have a nice little cross breeze too. So usually there's pretty good air movement. but we haven't tested that. Like I know some churches have even gone in and had people test. Yeah, Desiree.
When you shortened your service, like what did you take out, or what did you like? What was the bare service like?
Yeah, so we have one less hymn or one fewer hymn, whatever is grammatically correct there. We don't have an offering, doxology, offertory song because we just have an offering box in the back that people can use on the way out. And then for now, we've been having, the Sunday school has been meeting, and we have it in one of our large kind of fellowship halls. And we have parents drop their kids off at the beginning of service there. And so we haven't had a children's moment, all the kids move to the Sunday school area yet, but that might be something we bring back. And then I've been keeping my sermons pretty short, but at the same time, like each Sunday we've been open, we've had something special. Like we've had a backlog of baptisms, praise God. So I've had 2 baptisms in the last couple of weeks and things like that. So I've been keeping my sermons pretty short just to kind of fit that all in. Okay, let's see. Coffee hours. We have had coffee hours, but they've all been outside. So we've said absolutely nothing inside till we'll revisit that in September. Thankfully in our church, that's kind of a regular seasonal thing. Like we don't really do coffee hour during the summer. It's a little more laid back. So, but we have had a member of the church who has a large backyard offer her space. And so we've been doing, we call it Second Sunday at Sandra's. So everyone after church drives over to Sandra's house and hangs out outside.
What's your address?
Yeah, we'll come over.
Yeah, we'll come.
Oh yeah. You guys want to come? Absolutely.
Nice coffee, yeah.
It's a very churchy thing, right? The alliteration, Second Sunday at Sanders, very helpful. And we had a youth Sunday on June 13th. So it was Second Sunday at Sandra's celebrating students. How about that?
Oh,
Yes.
Stop the success.
But we have a little side lawn at our church. And so we've been doing little things there. We also have had some outdoor events at the Blue Hills to kind of get people re-engaged. We've kind of targeted people, especially young families who we haven't seen that much in virtual worship because they've got kids running around and it's just hard to meet. So kind of targeting those folks and saying, let's try to get together and re-engage them. Ushers, yes, we have. We recruited a few new ushers and kind of had them go through the extra steps that we have now. And that does include wiping things down. So we've been wiping down high touch surfaces like the backs of pews, because everyone puts their hands down to stand up and, sit down. And that's because Quincy Youngsang meets a couple hours after our service. So it's really out of respect for them. We don't feel too worried about it, but it's something that we're doing to share the space well. No choir, and then ensuring, those who are at home. So throughout the pandemic, we've been recording services and putting them on YouTube. And we just bought and had shipped some live stream equipment, including like a PTZ camera, which we're really excited about. I think we're going to install it tomorrow night. And so we're doing live streaming, and that's how we'll hope to keep people re-engaged that way who are staying at home.
Okay, so you'll be live streaming to YouTube so people can just kind of chat in. You're not worried about so you won't be on Zoom.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Great.
What's a PTZ camera? Sorry.
Oh, good. So I only just learned this as well. So it stands for pan, tilt, zoom. So it's a camera that can move on its own. It looks like a giant webcam. And I learned about this, I think, from Eric Dawes. That's his name, right? Who did a presentation for us.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is that we'll set it up in our balcony, and you can pre-program it so it can turn to the pulpit, it can turn to the lectern, it can turn central, and zoom in, and you can program that, and then there's just buttons to push, and instead of having a volunteer, move the camera and like try to get it there. So yeah, that's
Okay, thank
that's a
you.
PTZ, pan, tilt, zoom.
And is that how much is it?
So everything all in, the camera plus the cables we had to purchase was about $800.
Well, not that bad, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I was expecting to be more. I was actually kind of relieved by that.
That's good.
And we had at the end of 2020, we had budgeted for something like that, expecting that expense would come. So we had kind of set aside some money for that.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's what we have as well. And I'm coming in mid live stream, if you will, and wasn't involved in that conversation or the pricing, but I was so impressed with the quality of the image on YouTube this Sunday. So that's, and it worked really well, and it could zoom and do stuff. So
excellent.
That's awesome, Drew. Thank you. And Tom, do you want to just keep picking up? You guys are live streaming from the service at this point, from the sanctuary,
Yes.
but not with congregants. Is that right?
They started live streaming probably maybe at the end of June with just a liturgist, the preacher, and the person doing the tech and the organist. And we were off a few weeks with pre-recorded services because Ward was taking some time in the weeks leading up to my taking over. And then this past Sunday was our first Sunday back live streaming from the sanctuary, again, just with that small team. And our first Sunday doing communion in the church I think since the pandemic, because I think Ward's just done it from his home.
Do you have a date of re-emergence into the full out?
At our last month's session meeting, they voted to plan to resume in-person worship at the beginning of August. Provided the metrics maintain good status and that we get the tech worked out to be able to live stream effectively with a live service, which so far so good. But that'll mean we'll be starting the month with communion in the live service. So I need to get these logistics worked out ASAP. And I noticed, I don't think we have a large dishwasher, and I don't know if we have glass communion cups either. So I don't know if that's even an option, and the plastic makes me sad, but is maybe the option. Yeah.
We just switched to glass just before the pandemic, and my wife and I were really wanted us to move that way, so she volunteered to clean them, and she did look it up that you can use like those laundry bags, like a Delicates bag that you can throw in. You can throw that into just like a home dishwasher with all the cups in it. So I'll let you know how that goes. We're going to try it next month, but we haven't tried that yet. But that's a little tip, I guess.
Hopefully you still have communion cups left for the next time.
John, do you want to share how you guys are doing things?
Sure. First of all, it's so good to see everybody. Desiree, hello. Desiree and I were in a support group, a clergy group with Carla, and so good to see all of you. At Bedford Presbyterian in New Hampshire, we opened on Sunday, the 20th of June. I sent we had a frequently asked questions sheet that I put together. I just emailed that to all of you, and these are our guidelines and kind of expectations for summer. Our COVID task force is going to be re-examining these particular guidelines probably around the end of August, and making some new recommendations for fall, especially around like, can we use hymnals? Yeah, that kind of stuff. So a couple little details. We reopened on the 20th, and then on the night of the 20th, there was a 15-year-old member of our congregation who died tragically in a drowning accident. And so in meeting with the family, they were like, are you still limiting the number of people? We had limited the number of people in the sanctuary to 120. We can seat 400 in our space with windows open, and we have 4 air purifiers that we ordered off of Amazon, 2 in the middle and 2 toward the front. We also have an air handler that in the wintertime blows heat into the room, and you can just turn the blowers on. So we're using that as well, along with open windows and the air purifier. So it's well ventilated. But this family was like, you know, are you limiting? If so, we can handle it. But in talking to them, I was like, as we reemerge from the pandemic as a church in the community that is seeking to care for the people of this community, like, we can't, like, to basically make a hard and fast, you know, we got to keep people away from that funeral. It was just like a weird kind of pastoral call. So I asked the session for a one-time exception to the rule of limiting the number of people. And so in that one instance for that funeral, which was about an hour long, we had full capacity in our sanctuary, full capacity in the fellowship hall for a live stream, just because, like, I mean, there were all these kids there in their soccer jerseys and like all this stuff. I mean, it was just, it was a difficult one. But I think it was good. I think it was a good call. Everybody was masked, including the family. And the only people who were not masked were, I was up at the pulpit speaking, and if there were like 3 people who spoke from the pulpit, and we each took our masks off. We are requiring everyone on, but on a normal Sunday, every other pew is blocked off, kind of like at Drew's church. It looks like somebody had a masking tape party in the sanctuary, which is masking taped it off, you know. So the first Sunday back, we had these ropes that kind of kept the people in the center section from sitting too close to one another. I don't think we're going to worry about that. But everybody's masked over nose and mouth for the whole thing. And we're encouraging people to stay physically distant as much as possible. We're also encouraging people to lovingly say, please don't stand so close to me, because some of our people are close talkers. And so it's just like, I don't need to stand so close to you. Thank you. Even in non-pandemic times, just don't, yeah. And kind of like at Drew's church, we're talking about, like, not everybody has a chance to be vaccinated yet. Children, some adults, and so we're encouraging everybody to be masked. We don't want to, like, single people out as, oh, the unvaccinated people have to sit over there, or anything like that. So we're just kind of saying everybody, and that makes me feel more comfortable about singing. Speaking of singing, last week I was at the Montreat Worship and Music Conference. I sang in choirs all week. Everybody was masked when they were indoors. And they kind of have that same, and I'll put the link here in the chat to what they said, what's the latest on singing at worship and music. But basically everybody was masked the whole time, and everybody sang the whole time. And so, you know, granted, some of the spaces there at Montreat are, you know, the big Anderson Auditorium with open windows and fans going. But you know, some of the other spaces were a little bit smaller. And so, but also we have not taken a poll of our people, but I am optimistic that a higher percentage of our people have been vaccinated than not. And so, you know, I don't have any numerical proof of that, but that's something that I'm very hopeful about. So I'm being cautiously optimistic. Our music director, however, has chosen to not be vaccinated. And so I've had to deal with that.
Sorry.
Her immune system will take care of her. At least that's what she told me.
All right.
Yeah. So go with God. And so that's kind of what we're doing. We don't have children's Sunday school yet, but the fellowship hall has the live stream going. So if people want to go in, we've set up tables with some activities for kids in that space so that their parents can watch the live stream and kind of halfway, and then the kids can be involved. And we haven't had a whole lot of kids yet. I mean, this past Sunday, July 4th, was pretty slim. My son was the only child in church. But that's kind of what we've been doing.
Hmm. Super helpful, John. And just in general, like, are people in this movement and to re-emerge, are people abandoning the pre-registration system?
Yes.
So that's kind of going, and new visitors are welcome. Like, there's no one saying doors are closed at a certain time, right, at this point.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
We have done RSVPs, but we have a really it's more for so that we have an idea of how many people are coming.
Okay.
And so that we have an easy contact tracing kind of a thing if we need that. But people are coming who aren't, and we have enough space that visitors can come and we'll find space for them. So we're kind of in the middle of those two questions there.
Drew, have you found that RSVPing actually draws more people to come to church? As
You
a
know,
reverse.
I don't know if I've had a few people who have RSVP'd no, which is interesting because
Sure.
no offense to them, I don't need to know if you're a no. I just need to know if you're a yes. Which has been funny, but you know, I don't know the alternative, what that would look like during this time. So I don't know if that has, but people are really good about it. They do it like within 10 minutes of our office administrator sending it out. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Super helpful. One thing thank you, John, for answering this before I asked. If we can share protocols, that would be super helpful if people are comfortable with that, because language might be easily replicatable, and Trina might help what you had lifted. I think a lot of us are feeling too, like under-resourced, so we can cut and paste if people are comfortable with that, changing.
I adapted ours from another church, so you can totally rip mine off if you want.
Just change the name of the church, right? Yeah, recycle. So one question I want to like drill into a little bit here is the idea of the hybrid. How do we not lose the people that have joined us online, that will stay online due to distance, due to traveling, due to choices around COVID exposure and things like that, maybe including young families, in a way that's authentic, not overly cumbersome, but also preserves something of church that maybe that time to be off screen, to be a little less techno-centric, the old school version of contemplative, be still and know. And I mean, that may be impossible, it may be gone, but I'm just wondering about people. Has anyone found that magic? And some of the things that I've heard so far, right, are people who have been doing Zoom. We as Church of the Covenant have been doing Zoom. To keep doing Zoom with your pan, zoom, tilts, whatever you're doing. What I've heard, at least from our minister of music, is the sound quality of an organ over Zoom is horrible, according to our people. I don't know if anyone's has solved that one. So that's a problem. But then I've heard some people who are saying they're going to do Zoom and they're just going to patch in audioly the people from Zoom. So during the prayers of prayer time sharing, you can hear the people in different states or countries during the prayer time. You can't see them if you have a big sanctuary without a screen, but at least there's that audio. I don't know if people, I mean, Desiree, you're going to have some big screens set up in the sanctuary, right? And is that going to be for a Zoom piece? Is that going to be, what's that going to look like,
Well, one of our biggest concerns is that the quality of the experience be similar to the people who are in person. And so we're really thinking this through. I think we've had a lot of success on Zoom. Like right from the beginning, we knew that we did not want to live stream. We did not want to record. We wanted to be live. And that's really worked for us. I think that's really kept us together. I mean, we were averaging about 78 people in worship when we were BC. right? And now we average about 70.
Wow.
So I
Great.
think that's a long time to be
Mm.
online and to have that sort of consistency. So the big thing for us really has been our coffee hour conversations. They've been really amazing, actually, because we don't necessarily talk like this in church coffee hour, church building coffee hour. So,
Breakout rooms.
yep, sometimes we do breakout rooms depending on the conversations.
Yeah.
And we've had a lot of listening conversations, which is something that we don't do in person. We've definitely gone beneath the surface in talking about, the issues that are plaguing our society. Like we have one woman in the church whose son is transgender. So she's a woman now. And her sharing her story with us has really brought it home. You know what I mean? It's like it's part of us now. And so to have open conversations about transgender people, and knowing that I would say at least 10% of the congregation is ultra conservative. And to have them weigh in, it was like we were like crying on the Zoom. Okay, so we know that there's a sense of just real community and togetherness. And we have, I would say, about 17 or 18 people who Zoom in from distant places. So they're not coming into the building, right? Yeah. How do we keep them engaged? There's a pastor, Richard Hong, I believe he's in New Jersey. He has done a lot of training on this sort of hybrid. And for example, when we pass the peace, right? So in church, that's a whole big thing, right? So you're shaking hands or you're hugging, you're walking around, you're talking to people. When you're on Zoom, guess what? Different experience, right? There's none of that happening. So what he does is he plays a video that's meaningful for the people who are online. So while we're in the sanctuary passing the peace, the folks online will also have something meaningful happening. Not sure what that's going to be as yet, but that's kind of how we're thinking.
That's super helpful.
Right. And to still maintain the Zoom coffee hour, right? So there are people who will remain in the sanctuary and talk to the people on the screens. Clearly, some people will go outside or go, but not to lose that group. That's our primary concern.
Thank you for lifting that. I attended an online church online conference with Jim Keats out of Riverside Church, and their point was very much that, like, our default will be to preference one group over the other. So what we can do if we're doing hybrid, we just need to be attentive to that reality. So he lifted sort of communion as well as an example. When we're in communion in the building, there will be elders that will serve, and then one of the worship leaders will turn, lift the veil of the third wall and look into the camera's lens and say, all of you on Zoom right now, this is what we're going to do, and what's happening in the sanctuary now is X. You can see it maybe with this camera. So just attentiveness to various moments. It doesn't have to be the whole service, but at least times where there's that feel.
We do our joys and concerns. Usually people would just stand up and share because we have a very small sanctuary. But now we do it in the chat, right? So people just put their prayer requests in the chat. So we'll continue to do that with the people on Zoom, right? So they'll still be able to weigh in on what's happening in the service.
Okay, and then a worship leader may read those aloud to the sanctuary.
Correct.
Right.
Our group is an old group, people who don't do Zoom well. So that's the reason we chose to record the sermon. because they can go into the computer, press play,
Yeah.
and watch the whole service.
Right.
So that's what we chose.
Mhm.
But I'm amazed that we have 42 members. We used to have, in good days, like on Christmas, we would have 33, 40 to 40. And we are having 29 and 30 and 27 on Sundays. Watching, because I can go on YouTube and see how many people viewed. But also we had some people from Ireland, Londonderry, Ireland, Akadui. Their church is not meeting. And because they visited us on the 300th anniversary, they continue watching our service here.
Wow.
So we meet with them like for a chat like this every other Monday. The worship leader and we have a chat with them every other Monday. And we keep that. You were talking about how to keep people participating. With them, we do this. And but with the church, they got used to send in their prayer requests to the intercessor group and to Linda, and Linda sends an email with the order of service and with the prayer request to everybody in the list. So she's, instead of having everybody say everything in the service, which we want to keep short, the prayer request will be in there, and we just do a general prayer ending with the Lord's Prayer.
That's really helpful. I like that a lot, Carla. Reminds me of one suggestion I've heard, and something we're thinking about is if we move to a live stream to YouTube for the sound quality aspects and allow people to chat for the prayer time, end the service, have a brief hello and get people out of the building, and then have a worship leader or the pastor, whoever's leading, zoom in, invite other people to call in 10 minutes after the service ends, to have a 10-minute, 15-minute prayer time just with Zoom people, to just, maybe that's a way to do it. Because if you do it right at the end of the service, then that person, if it's a pastor, is going to miss the actual people face to face as they're leaving, or,
That's
just
right.
that few. So, but thinking about that, and this online church conference also just mentioned that, like, create, if you're going to do hybrid, try it, experiment. It's going to go wrong for many times. You're going to, you're going to be learning on the fly, but then have some spaces that are only in person and some spaces that are only online. If it's a midweek prayer thing, keep it only online for forever, for instance, if that works for your community, or have only in person. I mean, just sort of be aware of how you're balancing things for your community, and for us just to not go crazy, because there's going to be too many demands on our schedule, right? I mean, it is interesting when a session says, all right, yeah, let's open in September, and they say, hey, do we have one of those PZT cameras, and who's that going to be? It's going to be Carla going online figuring out where to buy a PZT camera and who's going to afford, and drill it to the wall. But yeah, in the resources thing, if you've found like air filters, that air purifiers, John, you've got a couple, please, like, if you know what those are, I think it'd be really helpful to send those around. At least for me during this time, I can total up the amount of hours that I've spent looking for the right microphone, even though I know there's 18 million YouTube videos out there on how to do church well and who's got the right piece of equipment. It's now increasingly hard to find those. So if you've figured that out, we at Church of the Covenant have a completely closed in space. The only way that we can get ventilation is by opening the doors onto busy Berkeley Street, where there's cars zooming by. So that's one of our biggest challenges. Yes, we have an 80-foot ceiling, but like we have no ventilation. That's one of my biggest concerns. So I think limiting the time in there, keeping people masked. And I love the idea of maybe just having the hymn at the end where people sing, and just, those kind of tips are really, really helpful.
John was going to say something.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
Thanks, friends. I need to go.
Thank you,
See you,
Trina.
Trina.
Bye.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for being
Yes.
the
Thank you all.
chat master in there.
I'm gonna need to run as well. So is there the possibility of circulating? I've been like scrambling down notes, but I haven't caught everything. Is maybe create a Google Doc and we can all like dump some ideas there.
luck. It's a great idea. I will do that at the end of this. Send it around to everyone on the email list. Yeah, and we can do that. Are others feeling like we need to close up the meeting? We can do that as well. If there's other things, John, you got some other things to.
I just wanted to say
Okay.
one thing about sound quality in Zoom. If you have
Please.
one of these digital, like basically computer interfaces where you can plug a microphone in to this red box and then plug the box into your computer, that dramatically increases the quality of the sound. Like you said, organ music basically overrides the poor little computer speaker. But this thing, basically you can ride the level a little bit. And so if it's something really loud, you can like turn these little knobs down, and you can see this one is red basically because it's like too loud. So you can just like turn it down and it stays green, and it's the software loads easily, and it even comes with a microphone that you can just like set up. So that the audio interface, relatively inexpensive and pretty easy to use, and it comes with headphones too, so you can like listen to hear what the mix is. We haven't been using it, and I have used it several times for a Zoom service. Have not used it for our live stream. We have other stuff running, and more technical minds than I are running that. So thankful for that.
That's super helpful.
Yeah, so just having a little box with like a microphone a nicer microphone plugged into the little box is helpful. And I also did pasted into the chat an air purifier, and this one that I put in is like for 500 square feet of coverage. So you get it's $160 a pop. That's, it adds up, but 500 feet. This isn't the exact one that we got, but the ones that we got, seem to be circulating the air and sucking out whatever needs to be sucked out. So just wanted to let two technical things.
Oh, that's so helpful, that kind of stuff. And just to reiterate that, the one you had there that you were holding up was a Scarlett Studio.
Yes, Scarlett 2i2 Studio. Okay. And they're different companies that make these. This was one of and it's made by Focusrite.
Okay.
Yeah.
We all need to.
Yeah, just from an audio perspective, that's something as a musician, I just like really hate it when the sound is bad. So like the first 2 weeks of the pandemic, we got this thing and did an audio version of our service, basically recorded it live, me and the church musician. And then, thanks, Tom. Nice to meet you.
Likewise. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good to see you, Desiree. I missed you so much.
Carla, good to see you too.
Yeah.
Rob.
We got the interface fairly early on, and people were like, "Whoa, it sounds like the radio."
That's great. I had not heard of that piece of technology, and that I think it might be our missing piece, and I don't think our Minister of Music has found that. So that's.
Do you know what it costs, John? Do you recall that?
Let me see. I'll look at. I got Amazon pulled up right here.
And while he's looking for that, I've used those. We use that at our current church, at my current church, at our church here, and then at my last church, we also used it because they had like a contemporary kind of band type of service, and super helpful.
Yeah, it's $170.
Oh, okay.
170?
Yes.
Oh, that's okay.
That's
doable.
Yeah, I'll copy that into the chat. I don't know if the chat will be the recording. I guess it might be on the recording.
Yeah, I'll save that, and hopefully that'll all come together. Super helpful.
And the nice thing is it comes with the microphone, so you don't have to like do a whole bunch of research on, I mean, it's not like the greatest studio quality thing, but those things were like thousands of dollars. But this thing is like for what we need in the church and making
That's good.
Palatable to the ear, that makes a big difference.
That's super helpful. All All right, friends, are there any closing comments, thoughts? I mean, I think the only thing that I would add maybe from Church of the Covenant is yeah, we are also thinking just September 12th. We're doing a couple, one thing a month that's somewhat live streamy sampling. We do have a PZT camera we just installed. We're using a thing called Sling Studio, which is a little more expensive, but we had a donor give some money, particularly for, getting us sort of online. Before BC, I was the one putting a little camcorder up before the service, just at the pulpit for just sermons only. So we've never done this before. So we're hoping to have, at the very least, services going to YouTube. YouTube for us seems better than Facebook. Yeah, I think all that we've done and what I've also sort of begun to communicate to the congregation in newsletters is extra patience. We've had a lot of patience for each other up until now. We got to have a lot more this fall because things will go wrong. It's going to be awkward. It's going to be imperfect, but hopefully we can build that up and the resilience. And I love just the idea of the solidarity. We do things so that the least of these, right, are the most elevated, being the kids or immunocompromised, etc. So this is super helpful. Any other last
Thank
words?
you.
I've asked Desiree to close us in prayer at the end if you're still willing to do that. I think we're probably at that point. And seriously, friends, blessings on all that you're doing. You're doing more than enough. We need to hear that from the Spirit through each other's vocal cords. You're doing what you can, and that's what God wants. So be at peace in that, and blessings. So good, as John, you've lifted, to see you all and be in this together.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you, guys. Yeah, all those links would be helpful to have. I couldn't keep up.
Yeah, I'll try to summarize those and put them in a Google Doc and send them out to you all.
Be really helpful. And maybe, in a couple of months, we can get back together to see how things are going.
Yeah. I selfishly would love something even like toward the end of August to check in again as we ramp up. And so I'll put out another doodle and see how that goes.
Thank you for doing that, Rob. Appreciate
Sure.
it. All right, let us pray. Gracious God, you are truly, truly messing with us, Lord. There's just so much happening, so much to learn, Lord. But Lord, you are just causing us to rely on you more, to trust you more, to recognize this is not our church, but it is yours, yours to do as you will. Lord, we pray that you would give us the tools and the resources. Give us the patience, Lord, the words to say to our congregations, Lord, that would inspire them, Lord, that would uplift them, that would have them to know that this is not the end, but truly the beginning of something new and something wonderful. I pray that you would encourage our spirits, Lord, that you would help us to not grow weary, Lord, but to energize us, Lord, to help us to set some boundaries and some limitations, Lord, so that we can get the rest that we need, Lord, that we can spend time with our loved ones, Lord, and enjoy our life, Lord, not be so stressed out all the time and worried about all the what ifs. So, God, we pray for just a spirit of peace and a spirit of trust, recognizing that all will be well. All will be well because all is in your hands. And so we cast our cares. Lord, we ask that you would just relieve us of any burden. And Lord, this evil that is perfection, Lord, that seems to run rampant in the PCUSA, God, we let go of that need to be perfect, because we know that on this side, Lord, it's not looking very good for us. So we just thank you for your grace and for your mercy, Lord. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank
you.
you, Desiree. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That we
Yes.
could have just called and had that prayer, and that would have been more than truly, truly,
Amen.
truly. It's
See you guys someday. See
so,
you.
so good to be together.
Yes.
Rob, thanks for organizing this.
Yeah, thank
That's
you, Rob.
fantastic. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks for picking up the phone.
All right.
See you.
Take that vacation, y'all. All right.
Bye, y'all.
Peace.